Hey, welcome back. It's been a while since we actually got a chance to do this. I know I've been pretty busy, Alain. What have you been up to over the last little bit?
Yeah, it has been a while. It's funny. I think the last time we connected to do one of these, there was snow on the ground, and then it all melted for about a month. And now that we connect, there's snow back on the ground as well. So I don't know if there's. We may not want to do this again, John. No, I've been busy. Things are not slowing down, in certainly the training and development world. Having a lot of great conversations with a lot of current clients and potential clients. Been connecting with a lot of people talking about things like personal effectiveness and time management. So helping people uh, kind of, identify where they're spending their time and talking about strategies that they can adopt to kind of get some of that time back and become a little bit more effective. Also been doing, as I know you have, John, been doing a lot of work coaching individuals kind of one-on-one as a supplement to our programs that we provide. And I know, John, you've been doing a lot of coaching as well.
Yeah. In fact, about 11 hours between yesterday and today. So
Oh,
it's been a busy couple days in terms of coaching, but it just always reminds me of how it impacts our programs when we get this one-on-one time with people and when we can sit down and really talk to them and dig into their issues. It's really impactful. Just today, I talk to one person about how to set better expectations for their team, and they actually have a big annual meeting next week that they're going to be digging into that with. And so we talked about they need to be measurable, and we
yeah.
can't hold people accountable if they don't know what they're being held accountable to. So that was a fun conversation. And then I had a conversation with another fella about how he needs to actually coach more.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't seem to get them to do what I need. And I'm like, well, because you're always giving them the freaking answer. And they're not learning. And so that was a really good conversation. I think the third one I had, probably one of the tougher ones, was to actually you get a leader to understand where maybe they're not hitting the mark.
Yeah.
And only through the relationship that we had did I feel comfortable in being able to have that conversation. But I know he thanked me at the end of it, and I think we made some progress in terms of what he is going to do differently that's going to make him a better leader. So it's just been really, really fun to have those conversations with people. And as you said, you're coaching too. Where are your conversations going?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned, kind of that one coaching client and, the challenge of, that individual's kind of constantly giving their team members all the answers, which is something that came up not just in one of my coaching sessions, but also come up when I'm in the classroom doing that time management, that increasing personal effectiveness piece. And I don't think people realize, and I think, in fact, people often have their own need to be able to be that individual who has all the answers, who is that go-to person for their team and whatnot. But in doing that, not really recognizing the potential negative impact that has, and really it's kind of twofold. One, if you're constantly having to give your team members the answers all the times, that's going to be a huge time suck for you. That's just in essence, you're enabling them. And two, is you're really not contributing to their development if you're constantly giving them the answers, if you're not allowing them to kind of go through the struggle. So one of the things that I talk about, whether it's in class or whether it's in those one-on-one coaching sessions, is kind of the idea of throwing the ball back, which can be as simple as when that team member comes into your office with that interruption, that question that you want to rush and give them the answer to. Instead of doing that, it's taking the moment, stopping, and saying something along the lines of, well, what do you think? What have you been in this situation before? What did you do then? It can be a really simple but really powerful tool, both for, again, regaining some of your time, but also again for that development of that individual, allowing them to kind of go through the struggle a little bit.
It makes me laugh because I probably 3 or 4 times in the last couple days have said to the client, "If you could redo this using a coaching approach, how might you change it?" And in essence, it's getting to that piece of, if you could ask questions instead of telling them the answer, how
Yeah.
would you ask the questions differently? I was talking to one fellow today. He was saying, we had a driver who came in with a shipment, and we were unloading the shipment, and we didn't give him his paperwork as quick as he had liked. And, the driver was getting frustrated. The guy I was working with was getting frustrated. Then we actually found out we didn't get what we needed in the shipment.
Yeah.
So we had to go back to the driver and talk to him about that. And I said, "Well, who did all that?" And he said, I did." And I said, "What do you think your team member learned from that?" And he knew it as soon as I said it. He said, "Nothing." I said,
Yeah.
"So next time this comes and happens, they're not going to know how to handle it." And so, one of the things I know that we do that we love is we actually teach leaders how to be coaches. We think we are coaches, and we're not perfect, and we'll get better every time we do it.
Yeah.
But we do really work hard at helping these people become coaches themselves, to not just give the answer, but to help them understand the why and to critically think and problem solve. And the analogy I always use, and I think you like it as well, is give them a fish they eat tonight, teach them how to fish they eat whenever they want.
Yeah.
And that's really some of the impact we're trying to have here
I
too.
remember that one from Sunday school.
Exactly,
And it's
exactly.
funny you mentioned that too, John. It's actually, when I'm having my coaching sessions, it's kind of one of the things I say to kind of set the tone from day one with any of our clients. I tell them that, this is a process. This is something that's about you. It's about self discovery. It's about asking questions that make you, have to reflect and have to think. And I tell them it's for two reasons. One, I'm not going to give you the answers because I don't necessarily have. I shouldn't say necessarily. I often don't have the answers. And two, it is a lot more impactful in my experience if an individual can come up with that solution or can come up with that kind of aha or that kind of moment of impact, if they can come up with it on their own versus again me telling them.
Yeah. And the balance there that I think you and I do well is knowing when maybe we have to guide them towards an uncomfortable truth about themselves, maybe get them to probe in and think about something that might be a blind spot for them, in fact. I've been doing a lot of that lately where I'm challenging people to think about situations differently and think about a bias they might be bringing to it, or, a gap in themselves that they
That's
might
right.
not be aware they have. And it's really helped us to unpack more deep conversations because as you know, sometimes they're not willing to go there, and
Yeah.
sometimes, despite the fact that we start our sessions by saying this is about vertical growth, this is about emotional and behavioral change, not everybody's on that bus right away because it causes them to become vulnerable and maybe not have all the answers and maybe put a chink in their self-image just a little bit. But I know we really create, we hear this all the time, we create a safe space to allow for people to do that in
Yeah.
coaching. And I know my hope is that if they get a little vulnerable with us and are willing to open up a little bit, maybe they're going to start to take that back to their people and their teams as well,
Yeah.
and be able to do the same.
Yeah. I'll tell you, John, one of the other things I really like about our, those one on one coaching sessions as a supplement to the in course or in class training programs that we do is it gives individuals an opportunity to, almost debrief what they talked about in their sessions in the classroom, an opportunity to maybe share anything that they learned in the class or ask any questions that might have come up after the fact. So again, one of those things I always do with my clients is I ask them, what was the last module you did in the program? And they tell me, and we get to talk about some of the learnings, and that will often take us in again, a really good direction.
Well, it's funny you say that because the one I did with our one client was session 4. It's the motivation and accountability session, and I piggybacked off of that a lot over the last couple of days, which got me into some of these great discussions about, where could you set better expectations? Um, do you have expectations that are unknown to people? Uh, are all of them measurable? Do you have good measures for all of these expectations? And it's really just taken us down whatever path it's taken us. But to your point, by having, whether it's the assessments that we use, which I know we love, or each of the contents that we add in, there's never nothing to talk about in terms of coaching. I know we've been doing this for several years now, and I've never run out of content. In fact, it's the opposite. Often people are wishing they had more time to be able to dig in and talk about more.
Yeah, absolutely. I think again, I think it's the perfect supplement, to what we do when we're in a classroom speaking with the group, and honestly, it's fun too, John. I enjoy kind of connecting with the individuals one on one, getting to know them, building those relationships, and every so often even run into someone outside of the work world, and it's
Yeah,
again, it's
yeah.
really fun.
Which I think the sort of last thing that's on my mind is it just really helps to drive home, I think, a lot of what we believe our philosophy on leadership is that if you build relationships with people, if you're willing to get to know people, your results are going to increase. And I almost feel it. I don't know if you do, but I feel it sometimes where session 1, little guarded, maybe not quite there yet. But now I'm in session 3 and 4 with many of these people. And man, the truths that are coming out, the oh my god, I know I should have done that different, or I really messed this one up, or just the true version of them is really really coming out. And it just is a validation of what happens when you build strong relationships. So we're living it each and every day, and they're seeing the results each and every day, if nothing else through what they do with us, which I think is really fun.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, John. And I would encourage anyone watching this who wants to learn a little bit more, whether it's about our leadership programs or whether it's about the one on one coaching, either as a standalone or as a supplement to our programs, to visit our website, which is just www.fairwindstraining.com, to learn a little bit more about how we can engage with you, and about how we can kind of help you with what's keeping you up at night.
Yeah. The only other thing I'd add to that, Alain, before we finish off here is you don't have to be a part of a big team or a big corporation to do that. If you're just one person looking for some extra help, we got a tool that will work for you. Of course, if you are a team, that's our sweet spot. That's what we do a lot of. But I'd never want an individual to go thinking there's no option here for me. So check us out. Hit us up in an email or text us or whatever it is. We'd love to chat.
I love it, John. Let's connect again soon. I always enjoy our chats.
Cheers. Me too. Bye for now.